Hey everybody, it's Mr. Green here again.
Hey, Mr. Giard.
Welcome back. On this episode, we want to talk to you about maybe the most important tools that we have out here, and that would be our canoe paddles. As you can notice here, we brought 4 paddles, and they are all distinctly different from each other. They're all very different. They're all different kinds of paddles. And the reason why we did that is because Mr. Giard and I are unique individuals. And we like our own things. We have our preferences as to what we like. So, to begin with, when we're paddling on the big lakes and generally flat water, I have this paddle here. And you notice this paddle here has a funny bend in it, right at the top of the blade. So this is the blade. This is the shaft, and this up here is the handle. This is what you hold on to. This one here is called a bent shaft paddle because it has this weird angle on it. And what this does is it allows me to take a very efficient stroke when I'm paddling in the bow or in the stern. That's the front or the back of the canoe. When I lean forwards, the blade goes straight into the water. And when I pull back, it stays straight up and down like this. And when the paddle gets to about my hip, the paddle stroke is complete and it's no longer very efficient. So that's when I take it out of the water, reach forward again, put it back in the water. This paddle's really short and it's really light, and it allows me to take upwards of 30 to 40,000 paddle strokes a day. Now, Mr. Giard here has a very different paddle for his flat water strokes.
So here I have, this paddle goes by a lot of names. It's a more traditional shape. It can be called beaver tail, Algonquin. Different regions have different names for what essentially is a very similar shape, and that is a very long but much skinnier shape that tapers down into a rounded point. As you can see here, my paddle is a lot taller than the bent shaft here. It's quite a bit bigger. And the reason for this is I have a bit of a different stroke that I use on the flat water and the big lakes. While Mr. Green's paddle is angled for his stroke, I actually take a shorter stroke. I start at my knee and my downward hand doesn't really move very much. And I push forward until I get to my hip, and then I swing it back up. So while Mr. Green's doing 30,000 to 40,000 strokes, I generally take one more stroke than he does. So every 3 strokes he takes, I generally take 4 because mine are shorter. It kind of looks like my arm's going in a little windmill shape, and it's a little bit funny. But that stroke is a bit more of a traditional style that the voyageurs would use and the fur trappers would use. And it gives you a little bit of a rest on one hand, and you're using all your back muscles and your shoulder muscles and generally your stronger muscles to propel the boat forward.
When you're taking that many strokes a day, being efficient or using the least amount of energy as possible to still effectively move forward is very, very important. Now we have 2 other paddles with us here today too. And these paddles are made more for paddling in whitewater. So that's when we come to rapids or water moving downstream. And sometimes even on this trip, we had to go upstream. We had to maybe use some of these paddles to help us get through some of those trickier parts. This one here is a T-grip. It's as you can notice here, the blade on this paddle is enormous. It almost looks like a pizza pie. So the reason why this is so big on this paddle is that it's made to pull as much water as possible. So these paddles aren't really made to be efficient. They're really made to work hard and move the boat effectively where we want it to go. It has a really big handle on the top here, so a really nice thing to hold on to. And this paddle's really, this is the workhorse of the trip. This thing can pull more water than any of the other 3 paddles. And yeah, that's essentially what it's made for. And it's very durable, and it's huge. It's just a big, burly paddle.
And this one's basically the same concept. Again, It's made of plastic and aluminum, unlike the wooden ones. That wooden one that Mr. Green had is reinforced, generally with fiberglass or something to make it a little bit stronger. And this is good when you're paddling those rocky whitewater sections or our shallow upstream sections. It's okay if you hit a rock or two with this one, because this is pretty durable, whereas this is a nice, thin, efficient, lightweight wooden one. I wouldn't want to hit too many rocks with this because you risk damaging it. And a damaged paddle out here is probably one of the worst things that can happen, because you either have to rely on a backup paddle that might not be as efficient as your other one, or you got to figure something else out if too many paddles get damaged. So we are very careful with our nice, efficient paddles, and we bring these more durable ones for the places that we know we might hit a rock or might have to work really hard and move a lot of water that is much stronger than any of our nice ones.
So those are our 4 paddles. That's why we brought them with us, and they are our most important tools out here.